Mealtime eating. One of my greatest concerns, and a lot of people who are child advocates' concerns, has to do with children eating well enough. It is so difficult for a parent to create a balanced diet for children in this day and age. There's so much fast food, there's so much packaging, there's so little time, there's so much going on. For brain development, for bone growth, for health, children need to eat a balanced diet. And you do not need to be a short order cook. It's a very simple rule. This is dinner. The next meal is, if the next meal is breakfast. So your choice is not that you're not going to eat this because you don't like it. The next meal is breakfast. And there's just not a conversation about it. Your child will not starve between this meal and the next meal. And you make your point. You just want to be very sure that if it's the dinner meal, that 2 hours later the child's crying and is all upset and hungry, that you give in and fix them something different, because then they will just use that as a tool. You have a plate of food. Sometimes you can compromise, not clean your plate. That was my mother's generation. You eat 3 bites of this and 3 bites of this, then you can have whatever it is that you like. But you invite a child, or actually demand that a child eat some protein, eat some vegetables before they, let's say, eat the macaroni. You want to teach a child to try new things, and a child to eat things that help them to eat a balanced diet. I would really work to keep dessert at a minimum. First of all, it's not a good idea to put sugar into a child that within a short period of time you're going to ask them to go to bed. That doesn't work. It also, that for many children, they will hype up and then they drop back down again. It also puts dessert as the forbidden fruit. If you don't eat your dinner, you're not going to have dessert. Well, that puts a lot of energy on dessert. It becomes more valuable. And then children are going looking for desserts and looking for sugar. If you can keep the evening dessert as something that is non-sugary, popcorn, Jell-O has sugar in it, but less than something not having ice cream or cookies or something like that, it will be in your best interest. It's important that you work with your children on eating well. Children should have healthy snacks, take healthy snacks to school. I used to make my children's lunches because at least I knew they'd have a good lunch. Now they can buy their lunches. I also had playground duty, lunch duty when I taught school. You could feed an entire country over what children throw away in schools. So it doesn't mean because they take a good lunch or they buy a good lunch that they're necessarily eating it. But when they're at home, then you have a little more control over that. You've got to watch how many snacks a child has right before dinner. I remember Scott came to me once. He asked me if he could have something, and I said, "You know what, Scott? It's a half an hour before dinner, and so no, you need to wait." And he looked at me and he said, "My inside stomach is eating my outside stomach," which is hilarious. I mean, that's funny, which is why I remember the story. And what I learned, though, is because he gave me some feedback, was that I could give him a couple slices of apple or a glass of apple juice or some grapes or something that helped him to tide over, because he was seriously, his metabolism was down. He needed to have something right now. And if you let children snack right up until dinner time, they're not going to be interested in what it is you fix for dinner. It takes time to prepare healthy food. It takes time you may not have. Our health, the children's health in this country, in a crisis. They need to have plenty of sleep, and they need to eat a balanced diet. You need to do whatever you can do to help with that. And you need to remember this. Your children are creating eating patterns. And a lot of those eating patterns that they are developing come from watching what you are modeling. What are you eating? What do you snack on? What kinds of food do you eat? And your children are following you. You teach most by what you model. Please, think about this. For the welfare, for the health, for the development of your child, do everything you can do to create a balanced diet.